Am I the jerk for publicly exposing my aunt and entitled cousin after they ruined my birthday and made it all about themselves? After my aunt and pampered cousin turned my birthday party into a humiliating event, I publicly exposed them. My aunt, Grace, is 41 years old. She has been married to my 43-year-old Uncle Dave for just over a year. Lily, Grace's 12-year-old daughter from a previous relationship, never had a father figure growing up, so even though my uncle only entered her life when she was 9, he has always treated her like his own daughter. My uncle brought Grace and Lily to our family when their romance turned serious. They have attended the majority of get-togethers and family vacations ever since. Grace was always very demanding and would make others do what she wanted, which is why I never liked her. She didn't respect anyone, but that's another matter. For instance, she would consistently be late or absent for all occasions, even though she was informed that punctuality was crucial. I mean to say that she was 45 to an hour late. She never expressed regret over it. She also never accepted no for an answer and would constantly ask people to do things for her, such as go get something from the store or do whatever she didn't want to do. She has even stated on several occasions that she anticipates receiving princess-level treatment. My uncle appeared content with her, so even though my family thought she was rude and nasty, we didn't really voice our disapproval. Thus, we left it alone. But her daughter was the true issue. I will attempt to enumerate some of Lily's rude and entitled actions, but I cannot begin to explain them all. I was 20 years old and usually sat at the adults' table when Lily was first presented to us. She insisted that either she sit with the adults or I return to the children's table, since she felt it was unfair that I was seated with them while she was not. She was 10 years old at the time, in case you forgot. My aunt told me to go sit with the kids rather than telling her that I was an adult and she was a child. She remarked that if I was so immature that I didn't want to transfer tables, I didn't deserve to be at the adults' table. When I declined, especially because I was much older and the kids were between the ages of 7 and 14, she made sure I sat with the kids ever after, even while I was working or engaged in other activities. Lily would constantly ask to play with me. When I refused, she would act out. I was constantly reprimanded by her mother for being a bad cousin and causing a youngster to cry. I was even made to go play with her by her. However, Lily would only ask me to do things for her, such as dress her dolls or prepare her a snack, and would act out if I didn't. She would constantly take my belongings, particularly my clothes and makeup. She threw tantrums when I told her not to, since first of all, she didn't ask for permission, and second, she wasn't old enough to wear cosmetics. I had to be giving because of her mother. When I got upset with Lily, my aunt would just respond that she was just a child. Lily also destroyed a lot of my belongings. Lily was always so envious of me. For some reason, she wanted all I owned. I had to give it to her, she insisted. My family threw a party to celebrate my bachelor's degree, but Lily was upset that she wasn't given the same attention or celebration. The following day, my aunt had the same party at the same location. Lily would ask her mother for and eventually receive every gift I possessed. Even my birthdays would be centered on her, since she was only a youngster. I tried to be kind and patient with her. However, as she grew older, her behavior didn't appear to change. She was getting even more entitled, if anything. We were celebrating my birthday 2 days ago, and that was the last straw for me. Despite the fact that I was born in early May, we decided to hold the celebration in my grandparents' garden in June to ensure favorable weather. Lily began grumbling that we were celebrating my birthday a month after my real birthday, as soon as she got there, around an hour late. She said that since it was around Christmas and she didn't actually have a birthday, we could celebrate hers as well, if we were doing that. To be clear, she is still 1 month away from Christmas, on November 29th, which is her birthday. We always got her lovely presents, and her mother, Grace, always made a great deal out of it. We would also be celebrating Lily's birthday, so she conveniently forgot about that and whined for 10 minutes or so before her mother gave in and asked my grandmother to get her another cake with candles. Lily then grumbled that since she had no presents, it wouldn't be a true birthday. I had lots of gifts, so if there were none, we could just share mine. Grace replied, adding that folks had time to go get her something. I was enraged. I asked my grandma if she had any cardboard boxes I could use when I visited her place. Congratulations on being such a spoiled brat, was the only thing I placed inside the one I took and pretended to wrap as a gift. Don't worry though, your entitled mother brought you up that way, so it's not your fault. I hope your present is enjoyable. It was juvenile, to be sure, but I'd had enough. For the last 3 years, she had spoiled the most significant events in my life, and I was sick of it. Lily and Grace were careful to sing Happy Birthday, Dear Lily, loud enough to drown out everyone else when they sang Happy Birthday to me. Even though I was furious, I assumed she wouldn't be grinning for very long. I was correct. She began shouting and having a fit as soon as she opened my gift and saw what I had written. I simply smiled at her the entire time, even though her mother began to yell at me, after calling me a lot of derogatory names. Grace and Lily left right away. Since nobody liked Grace or Lily, my family didn't really respond. However, my aunt, uncle, and even some other family members have texted me a lot to express that I was a big jerk for spoiling a small girl's birthday. Although I don't really regret what I did, I keep wondering that maybe I went too far, so I haven't responded yet. Recent update. My dad called me just now. I'm going to attempt to tell you everything he told me before I forget all of it. He began by telling me that just before he contacted me, my uncle had called him and stated he understood my perspective and wasn't holding me responsible for whatever I said. However, my uncle also argued that I should have known better than to destroy Lily's excellent moment by humiliating her in front of everyone, in addition to humiliating herself by attempting to steal someone's birthday. My dad informed him that Lily had been bothering me nonstop for years. He also informed him that she shouldn't have had a great moment, because in reality, she shouldn't have had a moment at all. My dad said he believed my uncle couldn't say he agreed with me, because if he did, Grace would be upset with him, but my uncle appeared to understand. My uncle added that he felt saddened by the disputes in our family, since he only wanted his family to be happy and didn't want to miss seeing my dad or my grandparents. My father retorted that he ought to share that with his wife, because up until she arrived, our family had always been intent and drama-free. In order for us to move past this, my uncle instructed my dad to ask me to apologize to Grace and Lily. My father assured him that although he would speak with me, he would support me and understand if I didn't want to apologize. I informed my father that I would not offer an apology and that I desired a sincere apology from Grace and Lily for their years-long mistreatment of me. They wouldn't be invited to any events involving me until then, and I would ignore them. In addition, my dad informed my uncle that he did not even understand why he was with Grace and that he should really get a divorce from her, because she mistreated him and everyone else. My dad didn't tell me anything about it, but according to my uncle, it was complicated. My uncle claims that an increasing number of family members have been messaging Grace to let her know that her actions were inappropriate and to essentially share everything they had kept to themselves for years, since he claims that I began a hate train against Grace. My uncle sort of holds me responsible, but I informed my dad that I thought she was the one who started it. In any case, he claimed that it was extremely awful because she was receiving texts from relatives who weren't present at my birthday. I realized that no one had spoken for the previous 3 years, but I think it would be going a bit too far, but eventually it had to be revealed. In order to speak with Grace and Lily and attempt to resolve the issue, my uncle asked my dad to invite me to his house either today or tomorrow. I didn't have to go if I didn't want to, according to my dad. I told him that I might go if my parents accompanied me, but I wouldn't go alone because I was sick of being teased by Grace and Lily. I'm not really sure if I should, even though I have a lot more to say. I don't think they will suddenly understand that they have been jerks for years, even if Grace will never change. I also convinced myself that perhaps Lily will unlearn such behavior and grow up to be a respectable adult. Additionally, I believe that I need to try to improve things, since I think that everyone texting Grace is going a bit too far, and I want things to improve, really. I have no idea. Shall I leave? Second update. I recently returned from seeing my uncle and Lily, but before I tell you how it went, I want to make a few clarifications. Many of you advised me against posting my most recent update, since it would only result in an apology and make no difference, but at least I could get it off my chest and stop thinking about it, knowing that I had said what I had to say, even if it didn't alter anything or make them realize how terrible their behavior was. In addition, I had stated that I would only go if my father accompanied me, if we met in a park rather than at their house, if they allowed me to talk without interrupting, and if they didn't anticipate an apology for me. I had also made it clear that if I felt uncomfortable or if any of these requirements weren't met, I would leave. I don't blame anyone for not speaking up earlier, and I don't blame myself for not responding sooner. In response to some of the comments on my previous post, I merely wanted to keep my family harmonious, primarily for the benefit of my grandparents, who value family much and find it really painful when their relatives argue. I don't really regret not saying something sooner, even though I know I could have, and perhaps should have. And anyway, let's get to the exciting part. I met them in a park approximately an hour ago, and this is how it happened. I had a list of things I wanted to say, which was essentially a rundown of all the times Lily or Grace had acted like entitled brats. I informed them of this and went into great detail about how disrespectful that was. I'm fairly pleased with myself for maintaining my composure the entire time, and they all had the grace to wait for me to complete without interjecting. Thus, it was a good beginning. After I was done, Grace began to argue that I was essentially whining pointlessly because some of the things I had mentioned were really trivial and unimportant. However, I shared with them both minor and major issues, since I wanted to share everything that had disturbed me. Grace then acted as though she had only heard me discuss the minor matters, like Lily wanting to try on my makeup, asking me to play with my cousin, or some of the minor remarks they had made about me. I went on to tell her that she was well aware that wasn't the main issue, and that if everyone was having the same issues with her, then perhaps we weren't all overly sensitive, and she was the real issue. That annoyed her, so she simply stated, "This family doesn't know how to treat newcomers," to which I didn't respond. "You asked for explanations, and you got explanations," my uncle said as he entered the room at that point. "Why did you insist on talking to her if you didn't want her to tell you what was wrong?" I believe she simply muttered, "That's it. We're leaving," since she was too surprised to respond. Lily said to me, "Sorry I ruined your stuff in your birthday," before she and her mother departed. I would say that this talk went better than I had anticipated, especially considering my lack of optimism and low expectations. Since her mother didn't perceive the issue, Lily's apologies seemed sincere, though I'm not sure if it was. I am aware, therefore, that she was not asked to apologize. It's okay that Grace didn't see the issue, because I didn't anticipate her doing so. Despite the fact that my uncle will likely face consequences, I'm glad he spoke to Grace. "I did well," my dad said, "and we could all go on now that it was over." Update 3. As I indicated in my previous essay, my uncle advised Grace not to come if she didn't want an explanation. I warned him that saying that would get him into trouble at home. Yes, I was correct. My uncle arrived at our house with a suitcase about an hour ago and asked my dad if he could stay with us. After we told him to come, he told us what had happened, and we realized right away that he had gotten into a quarrel with Grace. I'll do my best to recall what I can. After I spoke with him, Grace ignored my uncle for the remainder of the day and gave him the silent treatment. When they came home, to be honest, given how manipulative she is, I'm not particularly surprised by that. She knew just how to apologize and make him feel horrible, but my uncle simply took his penalty because he didn't want to apologize. When he heard Grace telling Lily that it was quite acceptable for her to act in such a way and to make demands on other people this afternoon, chaos ensued. In essence, she told her that it simply made her a strong, independent, and determined woman, and that people became irate because they were afraid of that and didn't want her to be in a position of authority. My uncle finally had enough and stepped in, claiming that those who were truly successful knew how to achieve their goals while showing respect for others, and that being disrespectful was not the same as being powerful. In response to his constant defense of his niece, or something, Grace supposedly became quite irate and began yelling at him. After that, my uncle informed her that what I had told her was true and based on her actual actions. He advised her to alter her conduct and acknowledged that she was the issue if it caused her to feel uneasy and irate. He got weary of her ranting and decided to take a drive. Because she kept yelling at him, she had placed a bag with some of his belongings in front of the door and locked him outside when he returned. Thus, he visited our home. Since she isn't responding to him right now, he is considering calling a divorce lawyer, which he plans to attempt tomorrow. Grace doesn't respond to calls, even though my grandparents have tried calling her. I regret that I started all of this, but it also eventually helped him see what a horrible person she is. Well done, he. The fact that Lily will only have her mother to teach her right from wrong if they divorce, and that she will most likely wind up like her, is what saddens me the most. I'm not sure if she will ever change, which saddens me, because I thought she was beginning to recognize how disrespectful her actions had been. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.